because they're so jealous and envious of anybody's strength. I mean, so many old folks in the past, reading history and talking to people, would revel in young people and love the youth and love the future. Now a lot of old folks hate the young, hate their energy. The young hate the old and see them as ugly and bad and not having wisdom. And it's just and this idea that children are bad and when they're the greatest gift ever. I mean, and then people are totally unhappy because evil does not fulfill you. It only makes you hunger more and more when goodness literally feeds the soul. And I'm sorry for those that have never experienced it. That, when they laugh at us, all these unhappy atheists and psychologists and psychiatrists that are all out there talking about how horrible their lives are and their incredible rates of suicide, they're not fulfilled because they don't realize the wonderment of what it is to be alive. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Alex, and I could make lots of points like everyone else, but I had just read today, I was just going to call and talk about the Nazi thing that I've been reading about, and here I hear Paul Watson's going to talk about it later, so I won't belabor that. But I just read that...
No, stay there. We'll talk about who founded Bilderberg Group when we come back to you after this break, and then I'm going to be good. We're going to hurry through your calls from Ray to Rob to Sean to Randy and Ryan. A lot of R's. R, looking down the list there. All right, this is the one, the only GCN Radio Network, PrisonPlanet.tv. Check it out today. It's a new kind of tyranny, a new kind of war run by psychiatrists and psychologists and sociologists as they track and trace our every move, our activities, as they gauge our responses, as they drug our water supplies, spray our skies, fill our food full of poisons, as they try to intoxicate the world on entertainment, over-the-counter drugs, prescription drugs, and illegal drugs, like Aztec priests forcing narcotic drinks down the throat of the sacrifice victims so they won't resist. That is what's happening right now. Oh, yeah, they get you drunk as a skunk, where they took you up to the chopping block so you wouldn't flail. They did the same thing in the camps in Germany and the camps in Russia with the sodium fluoride in the water. Historical fact. But the public would have to face the horror of who's in control, so they deny. And then that allows the evil to continue and grow and win, because the cowards believe that by denying reality, they're safe instead of facing. They really are monsters. We've met them, and it's our own species, an aberrant group within our own species, engaging in predatory activity against the rest of the species, and in the process losing their own souls. Going back to Ray and then Rod and others. Ray, you were trying to make a point, but I kept interrupting. Go ahead.
That's all right. I was just going to remind you that when G20 was just in London, the Queen gave out Orwell's 1984 to several of the attendants there. And Jim Marrs, in his Rise of the Fourth Reich, has clearly shown all the Nazi relationships in Europe and America and other places. And to me, Alex, just to make it easy for people who don't understand all this, just read Orwell's 1984 or Huxley's Brave New World, and that is what they are implementing. And when you go back to the Nazi and Islamic coalition that was in all through World War I and II, it is still being fomented. And
yeah, the Arab League. That's exactly what happened. Is the right-wing Arab groups funded by the Nazis were then picked up by MI5, MI6, CIA on record. I mean, Kermit Roosevelt wrote a book about it, the CIA section chief, published in 1999, shortly before his death. And I've had top CIA people on air, and I bring that up, and they go, yeah, you shouldn't have published that. They're very upset about how they use radical Muslims to stage terror attacks. And they were just talking on national television, what was it, NBC this Sunday, to the president of Pakistan, and he said, Osama bin Laden works for you. He's staging the terror attacks to destabilize our country. The radical Muslims, how dare you blame us for radical Muslims? The West is using them to destabilize Pakistan, which is completely true. I mean, they use the radical Muslims to go after the Serbs. They use the radical Muslims to go after the African nations. They use the radical Muslim. I mean, look at Odinga, Obama's cousin, first cousin. And then we have the mainstream news with the memos when he was a U.S. Senator, Obama's office advising Odinga how to have the Muslims riot as the minority to take over and kind of destroy the republic there and the duly elected government in Kenya. I mean, look, radical Muslims work for 10 Downing Street in the White House, period. And, you know, that's the more sophisticated worldview that we put out that isn't this simple U.S. good, Muslims bad, U.S. good. We try to break down the more sophisticated model. And, yes, my mother, you know, went to college for history. I gave her a copy of Rise and Fall of the Third Reich many years ago, and she'd already read it. But I finally gave her a book she hadn't read, and that was The Fourth Reich by Jim Marrs that we carry discounted at Infowars.com. And she had literally read hundreds of books on World War II. I mean, she reads one like every week. She's for the last few years been, you know, on that track. And she said, no, knowing all the history she knew, it just brought so many pieces together of Jim Marrs's amazing book. And then when you look at it, you know, then you've got this crowd that says, oh, the Nazis don't run anything. There's no such thing as Nazis. Well, when you understand that it came from the U.S. and England, and the Nazis implemented a eugenics policy and were basically then set up by the Anglo-American Nazis to fall, they then allowed that system to go underground through the European Union, and that's now been declassified. We already knew that, but now it's mainstream news. Paul Watson's coming up. And that's the system today, is a worldwide eugenics operation. It's not proper to call it Nazi because the Nazis were like a spinoff. You know, they were like a subsidiary or a minor league of the big leagues, okay, in baseball. You know, so that's what we're talking about here. But anyways, finish your point.
Say that's the dark spirit behind the whole thing. They use everybody. I mean, nobody is exempt from being used by this dark spirit. And I was just going to say, this is just like our current situation is just like 9/11. This is a thermite meltdown of the world, and it's all pre-planned. And I agree.
Absolutely.
Alex. God bless you. Take care and have those vacations.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it was great. Very reflective. Very just good for the soul. Now. There's a lot of things coming to a head, though. I've been really finally. So I'll start exercising for a few weeks and quit, or I'll stay healthy for a month or so and then quit. And I've actually now about a month and a half into working out every day and eating healthy every day and getting sleep almost every day and just praying and trying to be a better person and trying to really get centered. And it just gets better and better, folks. And I'm totally prepared for whatever comes. I just can't imagine people that aren't tapped into the universe, aren't tapped into the wider realm, who are just so with blinders looking just tiny little area about they want a new truck or how to act cool at the gym or, you know, fighting with their wife or husband, all these petty issues, or all these women that feel inadequate and think they're ugly, no matter how gorgeous they are. Madison Avenue totally programmed them. And I just see people under the mind control, you know, their mannerisms, their body language, the way they talk, the insecurity. Who's got time for insecurity when we're all going to die? None of us are going to make it out of this. We are living, sentient, creative beings who have not even begun to discover our true potential and our true destiny. And I can see that destiny. I can, you know, primitive as I am and small as I am compared to what the species is going to become, I can grasp it from afar, you know, the promised land. And I can tell you it is beautiful and wondrous beyond your imaginings. And then to throw myself against this wicked, stinking machine, you know, that smells like a giant pile of dead bodies. I mean, we've got to defend the innocent. We've got to defend the species. We've got to defend the DNA. You notice the first thing the New World Order does is go after the DNA. I mean, it is a fact that eugenicists founded Cold Springs Harbor, where now IBM with the U.S. government runs the Human Genome Project, and all of their major directors. You can just look at the directorship of the Human Genome Project, and then you can search their names under Planned Parenthood, under eugenics, under the optimum population groups, and they are all hardcore. Blacks aren't humans. We got to kill 80% of people. The future doesn't need a big population. And you search Google, and you research all the big Fortune 100, and you research Chase Manhattan, and you research Goldman Sachs, and you research IBM and Microsoft, and it's all eugenics. You look at Frank Paulson.